Alright, so I'm in Quincy, and here's these ads they have, like, you know, these things, you know, on their, are they late posts? Yeah, they're late posts. Every once in a while, you know, they kind of change with the season, and they also sort of like do other stuff, I guess, according to the season. Like, right now it's fall, right? So they're also alternating the leaves. So anyway, Quincy Community Action Program. I will tell you what, I would not say that the judge made me work with them, made me work with Quincy Community Action when I was, like, at the first court hearing. He was like, look, you know, basically gave me no choice. He was like, you either, what he said was, you can work with them, or because something that I can do is just tell you have to be out, tell you have to be out of your apartment in the next 48 hours. And I was like, wow, no, all right, fine, I'll work with them. I mean, I basically, I did what I could do with the situation, you know? I mean, I did represent myself, which I got a lot of help from this place called LARC, which I think is called Legal Advocacy. Legal Advocacy Resources Center. It's free. It's for people who are, at least one of the things they do is try to help people who have gotten eviction notices. You have to call them like at exactly 9 o'clock in the morning. I think it's 9 o'clock in the morning exactly, to be able to get to talk to them at all, because people are calling them all day. You talk to an intake person. They may or may not pass you on to someone who's a legal advocate or a lawyer. You tell them your situation. They give you some advice. And then for people who need to represent themselves in court, the way I did, which like the way a lot of people do, who are given eviction notices, right? Poor people. I went to a clinic. I went to a clinic, which I found to be really helpful. 920RBL. Really helpful. It was because even though, like, no, I mean, I wasn't as like worried particularly about being able to, what is that, 2277EH. I wasn't that worried about like totally overwhelmed by everything having to do with the legal system. But the thing is, I did not know what the specifics were in terms of the procedure of everything, and it was really, really important. I almost even thought about not going, but I'm so glad that I did, you know, because they had all these forms. You have to fill them out in a certain way, you know, really, really specific. They give you all the information. Unfortunately, I could tell that most of the people in the room had no idea what was going on. That's something that was really too bad about it. I mean, I think they probably started these clinics to help people represent themselves, because there just are not enough. There just are not enough like public lawyers to be able to represent everybody, whoever gets an eviction notice, which I think is very sleazily dependent upon. You know, that shortage, that scarcity, the lack of public resources, I think is very sleazily, you know, and deliberately dependent upon by the people who try to evict people, right? I mean, all these landlords who rent to people who are poor, who want to abuse them in one way or another. I'm sorry, I have a lot of problems with this umbrella too. I got a new umbrella. Wow, this one caught me now too. Just pinched my finger. It's like trying to, I hate these umbrellas. Anyway, they depend on that. They you know, first of all, they're mean to their tenants, don't respect them. You gotta wonder what you're thinking, because they're the ones who are taking the money. You know, there are so many landlords who, first of all, won't rent people who have Section 8, or if they do, they treat them as if they're like less than their other tenants, like as if the tenants are the ones who are working the system, when it's the landlord who's taking the money. You know, it's the landlord that's taking the money from the government once they get a Section 8 tenant, and then well, you know, when they decide they're tired of that tenant, or they don't like the tenant, or they don't think the tenant is like, you know, too interested in having their own rights, they get paid. They can get paid, you know, by the government throughout all the months that they spend, you know, trying to evict a tenant for whatever reason, you know, for whatever reason, right? And of course, the people who tried to evict, the people who tried and eventually succeeded in evicting me, did it because they liked the conglomerate's agenda, and I didn't, and they had cameras in my apartment, and I didn't know where they were, but I lived with them. I lived with all that voyeurism in my apartment for a whole year, right? But anyway, how did I start talking about this? It's really not very nice weather out here. Yeah, you know, I went to this legal clinic, and I can, there was a lot of paperwork, you know, and things that I could and did decide to do to try to like counteract the way I was being treated by the property management and the property management's lawyers, and stuff that was really, really, really important for me to go to that clinic for. But I could tell that I was probably the only person there who really understood the importance of all that paperwork and really understood, you know, like why we had to do all that stuff, and like was like had any kind of really idea how any of it worked. And a lot of people who were sitting around that table and who are supposed to be the ones who are being helped by this, they were like, I'll just see what I can do. I'll just go tell the judge something. I mean, I think they didn't want to deal with it because they didn't understand it, and because they felt bad, they felt stupid, and they moved very quickly. The lawyer, I mean, I thought the lawyer who ran the clinic was a really good guy, but they moved through that information very, very, very quickly. There's just no way, and I could just tell, you know, that I mean, there might have been a couple of people who sort of kind of understood, at least that it was important, but like sort of how the specifics of everything they were telling us to do like actually fit into the larger structure of like how the legal system works in general. I could tell they just had no idea. So it's not really fair. You know, they have these legal clinics, which are supposed to be there to help people like make their way through the process. But you know, if the people who you're telling all this stuff to have no idea why it matters or what's important, like there's just no way. And actually, when I went to court, I kind of screwed it up too, because I didn't. It was only later. It was only after the first hearing when I had annoyed the judge. You know, it was only because I got to court right for the first hearing, had all my paperwork, had all my information. You know, knew not to talk too much, but I didn't realize that I was not supposed to say anything while the other lawyer was talking. Right? I mean, so she starts talking, and I am just shocked by the things that are coming out of her mouth. Like, just every word's a lie. And I keep saying, no, she's lying. And the judge finally was like, you need to stop talking. He's like, it's not your turn yet, stop. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I did. And it was only, but I was shocked, totally shocked by the stuff that she was saying. And it was only later when I talked to somebody that I know, who is a lawyer, who said, look, you know, they're the plaintiff, they go first. I was like, oh, look, this person just drove up and parked here. Look at that. Yes, I'm so crazy. I am here just to try to, because it's windy out, so I know sometimes when there's a lot of wind, you can't hear what I'm saying, so I kind of just like turn onto the side street for a minute, and then this car just drove up and parked right here. Yes, I'm so crazy. I'm delusional, right? I have no idea what's going on. I'm the one who's a danger to other people, right? There's nothing going on at all. I'm imagining everything. Absolutely. It's not that I just got stalked onto the side street by these people who just parked their car here. No, I'm imagining everything, which is exactly what the people who took me to court to get me evicted said about me, right? I mean, and I know because the conglomerate was torturing me about it the entire year that I lived there, that they had cameras in my apartment, right? I mean, I should be able to sue them for millions and millions and millions of dollars, but I don't know if I can, because the final agreement that I signed with the property management at the third court hearing a few months before I finally did get evicted said, you know, if you can find an apartment within 3 months, you know, from the date of this court hearing and the signing of this agreement, then you can get a neutral reference to move out. You're not evicted. You know, it's you're out. But one of the things I said was that it was going to be kind of, the whole thing was going to be put to rest forever, right? That I would never be able to address these issues again, whether or not, because I accused them in sort of like my counterclaims to what they originally said in the first court hearing. I said, you know, there's cameras in this apartment. I know there are. I don't know where they are, but I know they're there, right? And my having confronted them about it in the first place was one of the things they initially wrote in my first eviction letter, saying, you know, you're going to get evicted because you're lying and you're crazy and all this other stuff. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You know, they knew exactly what was going on. They knew who I was. They knew, and they just totally lied. Absolutely entirely lied, right? And anyway, you know, I never did find an apartment within 3 months, because like every time I turned around, the conglomerate was attacking me about whatever apartment I was even considering, because I was trying to find some kind of code interpretation of it, and they're still doing that. Right? I got evicted because of them, you know, and because I was tired, and because I was just like, I was exhausted, you know, and like just kind of losing it and miserable about the videos that had already been filmed of me and everything that was going on. And it's just, you know what? really mean. To say that I'm being treated in a really mean way is not an exaggeration at all. You know, it's just like, when is this stuff going to be over? And I'm constantly treated like it's my fault. But anyway, yeah, Quincy Community Action. Ooh, that lady's a mean lady. That the person who worked with me, like she was not all the time mean all the time, but she was really pretty mean. You know, and basically was like working with the lawyer against me. You know, she was used to it. She was just kind of used to it. I think she was very used to just helping property managers to evict tenants. Yeah, I think she was just kind of one of those people who works in social services. My impression of her actually is she's kind of on the side whoever she thinks is going to win. But she was pretty close. She was pretty close to the law firm that was representing the property manager. And I will say, you know, I mean, the lawyer for the property manager, the one that I worked with the most in terms of, like, you know, having to be against her in court, she was not all bad. You know, I finally, during the, like, right before we went into the courtroom the third time, when we had agreed to sign this agreement that was going to, like, you know, let me out of the lease and everything, I just broke down in tears. You know, because I was like, I just didn't even know what to do. I did not know what to do. I hate it when I break down in tears. You know, and I know I just, like, kind of can't help it, and I just start crying. And she was nice. She got me some tissues. You know, I mean, we kind of ended that on a good note. But then the antagonism by the property management didn't stop. You know, it just went on and on and on. I hate these umbrellas. Can you not just make an umbrella that doesn't cost that much money, that just keep doing this? You know, God, why does everything for poor people have to be so bad? It's not supposed to be like that. You know, it turns inside out, it unumbrellas, you know, and I just have to sit here with it the whole time while it's, like, crashing down on me. God. You know? There's no reason for all this, right? And then I get attacked all the time because I'm not working and I'm this and I'm that. But, you know, what are you supposed to